Hi, second graders. Miss Shannon here to talk to you about our comprehension skill of the week. This week, we will be talking about problem and solution in a fiction story. Let's talk a little bit more about problem and solution. The plot of the story is often about the problem in the story. The solution is how the characters solve the problem by the end. In order to find the problem in the story, you can ask yourself, what do the characters want to do? Do they want to fix something? Figure out something? The problem is often at the beginning of the story. Pay close attention to the steps the characters take to solve the problem. Oftentimes, they will try more than one way to solve the problem, or there could be more than one step to the solution. So as you read throughout the story, be thinking to yourself, what are the characters doing to solve their problem? And lastly, at the end of the story, ask yourself, did the characters solve the problem? And if they did, what did they do to solve the problem? That will lead you to the solution. Okay, let's take a look at the graphic organizer we will be using this week to help us find the problem and solution in our text. You'll notice that there is a box for the problem, a larger box for the steps to the solution, and finally, the solution. So like I said, there are often more than one way that the characters try to solve the problem. Maybe those steps don't work and they have to try again, or maybe there's more than one thing they have to do to get to the solution. So pay attention to the steps they take to solve. We are going to be practicing this skill together in our Your Turn practice book, the story starting on page 233, and we will answer the comprehension questions together on page 235. So go ahead and find your Turn practice book, open up to page 233, and then press play when you're ready to move on. Here is our story. It is titled The Recycling Contest. I would like you to follow along as I read aloud. You can read in your Turn practice book or follow along on the screen, whichever is easiest for you. Miss Hines was the principal at Grover School. Each day, she saw that students threw away sheets and sheets of paper. She called a meeting to talk about recycling. Miss Hines explained why recycling was so important. She ended her speech this way: let's help save the earth. If we all pitch in, we can make a difference. So I noticed that this is the beginning of the story, and I know that is usually where we find the problem. So what is it that the main character, Miss Hines, is wanting to do, or sees a problem and wants to fix it? What is she noticing? Yeah, she is noticing that students are throwing away lots and lots of paper in the trash instead of the recycling. Or you think about our graphic organizer, what would you say is the problem in this story? And has Miss Hines already done something to take a step towards the solution? Did she try to solve the problem? We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's keep reading. The students cheered and went back to their rooms. The next few days, Miss Hines watched the students. They were not recycling. Miss Hines decided to try another plan. So her first step to solve her problem didn't work. Now she has to come up with another plan. Grover School is having a contest, she told the students. The class that recycles the most paper in 1 week will win a prize. The contest begins tomorrow. Our class can win, said Eric. He was in second grade. His teacher, Mrs. Park, said, let's try our best. Miss Hines gave each class a recycling bin. She made a big wall chart. Each time a class filled a bin with paper, they emptied it into a giant container. Miss Hines kept track of the paper on her chart. Eric reminded all his classmates to recycle. If he saw someone throwing away some paper, Eric called, "Put that paper in the bin." He never forgot to recycle. At the end of the week, Miss Hines called another meeting. She held up the recycling chart. "Eric's class has won the contest." "This is your prize," she said. "You get an extra 10 minutes outside at recess for 1 week. You can enjoy the earth that you are helping to save." What a great reward for their class, second graders. So, did Miss Hines solve her problem at the end of the story? What do you think? We will work together to find that out. Here are the questions on page 235. Number 1 asks, what is the problem in the passage? So what is the problem in this story? Well, usually the problem is found at the beginning. So let's go back to the beginning and see if we can figure it out. Miss Hines was the principal, so that's the character. What was she wanting to have happen? What did she want to do? She saw kids throwing paper away in the garbage instead of using the recycling. So her problem was that she wanted her students to recycle, and they weren't. So that is where we found the problem. It was at the beginning of the story. So we could put this into a complete sentence to say, the problem was that kids were putting paper in the trash instead of the recycling. That was the problem at Grover School. Press pause as you write down your sentence and play when you're ready to continue. Okay, number 2. What is one step that Miss Hines takes to solve the problem? So we just want to know a step she took to solve the problem. We're not asking for the solution yet. That comes at number 3. We just want to know what is one step that Miss Hines takes to solve the problem. Well, I can go back to the beginning of the story. I remember that after she identified the problem, that kids were not recycling, she did something. What did she do first to try to solve the problem? That's right. She called a meeting with the students to talk about recycling and tried to explain why it was so important. So that was her first step in solving the problem. Now, second graders, did that first step work? No, it didn't. She had to call another meeting and create a contest. But her first step was, first, she calls a meeting to tell about the importance of recycling. All right, and number 3, that brings us to the solution. What did Miss Hines finally do to solve the problem of kids not recycling? You are going to come up with the answer. So searching back into the story and figure out, what did Miss Hines do to get students to recycle? What was her idea? When you finish with number 3, make sure you take a picture of this page, page 235, and put it in the green box. If for some reason you're having trouble with your camera, you can always type your answers on the last slide and then click submit. Thanks for working hard, second graders. Have a fabulous afternoon.